We've had Mark on with us before, and we have him on today, in a day in which Michigan, of course, gets their penalties and whatever else, and the reaction to it, plus a lot more in college football that starts next week with K-State, Iowa State, and Ireland. Mark, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. How would you describe Michigan, the penalties, the NCAA, and this entire story?
Yeah, what's up, guys? How you doing? Thanks for having me on again.
You too.
Interesting situation. I think the people who thought the hammer was going to drop, the so-called NCAA hammer, were kind of deluding themselves all along. The NCAA is no longer in a position to do that kind of thing. They don't have the leverage. They don't have the clout. So, but what they did do, it wasn't nothing. I saw a lot of people reacting like nothing happened to Michigan. The $20 million fine is substantial. Michigan has just appealed the whole thing, so we're not quite done with it. It looks like the NCAA may have done what they often do, which is overreach based on the evidence that they have and draw some conclusions that the evidence really doesn't allow them to. So I'm interested to hear what Michigan is going to say about that. The whole thing for me is a little bit of a tempest in a teapot for this reason. The core so-called crime is not actually a crime. Sign stealing, decoding signs. It's 100% legal. Michigan is in trouble for scouting opponents in advance and videotaping their sideline. So you kind of got to decide how serious a quote unquote crime you think that is.
So, Mark, I saw this tweet from you. You just mentioned it, before we brought you on, that this could wind up with eventually the NCAA, or I guess not the NCAA, or the powers that be, making a rule that you can advance scout because now the equipment's cheaper and, teams can get around and there's more money. So then all of this is really for naught, for every way up and down if they do that.
Yeah, and I actually think the whole ruling system on advanced scouting, the whole structure on that was stupid to begin with. There was another situation which the NCAA has pulled off over the years many times, which is not allowing schools with certain levels of revenue and resources to do things because schools below them don't have the revenue and resources to do them. So advanced scouting was a thing in the sport for decades. Teams sent out coaches to watch teams play in advance. They picked up absolutely as much as they could while watching the game. They didn't record very much because video technology at that time was totally different. But advanced scouting was a totally normal part of the game. That was eliminated for financial reasons. I think that just needs to go away. And then the rules, as you're mentioning, and we've been talking about on video recording now with the cheapness and the quality of technology, you're going to create another situation like this that is just totally unnecessary, in my opinion.
Mark, do you think the new era, the CSC, I know all the schools have to basically agree, like, hey, we're going to be in all this together. Do you think that there actually will be an enforcement arm with teeth? Or do you think we'll see more of the same like we've seen the last several years with the NCAA when it comes to punishing programs and, in particular, yes, even the top-level names?
Yeah, I think there will be more teeth going forward to whatever extent these major football schools are able to control the system. So whether that's breaking away from the NCAA or whether that's the NCAA carving out in a truly autonomous region for them within their association, I think we will see something with teeth, but the teeth are going to look much more like what happened to Michigan today, which is they're going to hit them in the pocketbooks and they're going to fine them because this is the era where every dollar matters. You have a lot of places where you got to outlay a lot of cash, and losing any amount of that for these teams is going to be a big deal. So I do think going forward, it's going to be more fine-based and then, other restrictions on the year-to-year operations of a program that they'll probably reduce, the amount you're allowed to do, et cetera. But I think it will look different than the classic NCAA model.
Mark, what would you think would have been a postseason bowl? I don't know if we'll ever see that again. We're not going to ever see another death penalty. I can't imagine that. Or even some schools that have been hammered with no postseason, which of course is why you play the games and practice throughout the year. What would have been one more step that you might have taken had you taken it past just basically getting fined?
Yeah, interesting question. Reducing in the old NCAA way of doing business, reducing scholarships and the amount of talent you can put on your roster was frequently a pretty devastating penalty. Short of a death penalty, losing scholarships was a way to chop down a program. We saw it happen to USC, Alabama. I mean, major schools over the years. So probably something would be if you really wanted to go hard, you'd do something on the talent reduction end.
Yeah, loss of scholarships, et cetera. But the visits, to me, I know that can be annoying, but in the end, I think you can still get around official visits or being able to go on the road, and especially if you're Michigan. Paul, Catalina?
Yeah, the official visits, that's just kind of a thing that's annoying, right? I mean, that's annoying for the recruiting staff. That's all that is. Mark, do you think that any fan base at all in the Big Ten will be satisfied with the way that the Big Ten personally handled this?
No, I don't think anyone, including Michigan. It's just one of those situations. Everybody wants it to go away, or everybody wants it handled to their satisfaction, and everybody disagrees on what exactly that is. So Michigan is one of those programs, even if you're not a Big Ten fan, Michigan provokes a lot of very strong opinions, and within the Big Ten, it's no different. They're a big dog in that conference, and they occupy a lot of space, and a lot of people resent that about them and would have loved to have seen them humbled to a more significant degree. And of course, the Michigan people think nothing should have been made of this at all, period, and any punishment is wrong. So no, I don't think anyone's going to be happy.
So, Mark, there is a season coming up as we wade through all of these types of stories. But there is a season coming up, going to have some Big 12 action in Ireland here in just a few days. And so I'll just ask you a wide-ranging question. You can kind of fill in the blank however you want to. What's got you most pumped up, most excited at the moment when it comes to this upcoming season, from the playoff tweaks to Arch Manning to just the big matchups? Like, where's your head and where's your, most excitement at the moment?
Well, I am looking forward to the game in Ireland, first of all. I love that they're sending over a Midwestern rivalry, and I like that it's a real rivalry. It's not something that has to be hyped up by the TV as an interesting game. It's the Farmageddon game, and both teams have legitimate aspirations to compete, if not win the Big 12 and get into the playoffs. So it's going to be a game with stakes, with intensity, to very enthusiastic fan bases. I hope they travel over there and have a good time and show up in the stadium. So, I'll start with that. And then the opening weekend itself, we actually have a bunch of good games over this week one. And I'm looking forward to, I made a list of 10. We got Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Miami, LSU, Clemson, Utah, UCLA, Georgia Tech, Colorado. There's a whole bunch of games that I am, the early season, sometimes it's the remainder of the season plays out down similar lines. Sometimes the early season is like almost a totally different campaign to how the season ends up playing out. So I really enjoy these early games, kind of the late summer, and just getting back into it. So right now I'm just kind of focused on that.
We can't wait for the season to start either, which is that game in Dublin, Ireland. Just the fact that, so I even sent you this text. Besides the obvious, and maybe it is the obvious, why do you love college football?
Oh man, there's so much to that. It's Americana. I think it's the most American sport we have. I love the regionality of it. I love how it's rooted in the local cities and communities, the college towns. I love our college towns. And then the games themselves, the color of them, the pageantry, the drums, the marching bands, the stadiums, the whole atmosphere around college football is such a unique and enjoyable experience that, it's something that even just as a small kid that fascinated me almost instantaneously, long before I could even articulate it. So just being around college football and the color and the sound and the sights is a great thing for me. It's also, one other thing I didn't mention, I really learned about the United States from this game. All these college towns, all the different regions, I would look on atlases and maps and find out where they were and what it was like in the different parts of the country. So I did say this to start with, but it's pure Americana.
Well, you're writing a book about it, and do share some of that on your timeline. You mentioned, this is what, maybe a day or two ago, about your trip to Oxford, Mississippi, to visit where the Ole Miss Rebels play, and kind of what you found in the historical perspective of William Faulkner and many more.
Yeah, William Faulkner, he's a Nobel Prize winning author, one of our greatest novelists. He was born and grew up in Oxford, Mississippi. He had a family home right outside the campus, and it's still there. And Faulkner, interestingly enough, in his novels, he mentioned college football and Ole Miss football many times. And this is, the early part of the 20th century through the 1920s, 30s, 40s. And I went out there and looked at his place. He's got some great hunting stuff, some his old hunting boots, some rifles. His library's full of books. Really cool place. And I posted a quote from one of his stories. It was he had a character who he was training to be a teacher, went off to Oxford, and he played football for the football team. Now, this is at a time when you weren't supposed to give scholarships or pay kids to play for your football team, but he got to go to Ole Miss in exchange for competing for the football team. So just kind of an early example of college football never quite living up to what it claims with the its scholarships and pay for play and stuff. So it was just it's also just a great paragraph of writing. So I posted that.
What are you working on? Any new historical stuff right now?
No, this book is going to be out this fall, so I'm writing like crazy on this thing every single day, and I'm finally getting close on it. It's been a long project, so this whole book is really the place of college football in American history and culture. It's kind of where it came from, where it is, where it's going. I took a huge odyssey across the country, went to every region and many of the big rivalries and soaked it all in. So for college football people, if you're interested in this sport and sort of why it's so deeply rooted here, I think this book will be fun for you to read.
All right, so I have to ask you then, when is it coming out approximately? And is it much more of a project than you ever thought, or was it much more enjoyable than you ever thought it could be?
Yeah, it should be out this fall, potentially pushed towards the end of the season, but it'll be out this fall, before the year is out. And the answer to your question is both. It was way more than I thought it was going to be, and also a fascinating and enjoyable process. It's I definitely bit off a lot with the concept and the amount of traveling I did, and then the amount of research that required to be able to competently talk about all these programs and their histories and their rivalries. So it's a tremendous amount of work, but then, the travel was amazingly fun. And then when I get into the writing of this stuff and really get into my experience with it and being able to connect it to all these different things, it's also just kind of a pleasure to write and get into. So it's just a big project all around with a lot of mixed feelings.
You made a comment about the Adidas, not so much Tennessee, but your comment about Adidas and how every once in a while they'll just show up and just do something, right?
Yeah. Well, Adidas is interesting. They went from kind of a very normalish company. They made, really classical or normal uniforms with the Adidas 3 stripes on them to, I think, getting concerned that Nike was going to run away from them with the University of Oregon and all these Nike concepts. And Adidas went through a phase for a while, maybe 2010s and until recently, when every once in a while they would roll out just some insane uniform concept. I mean, just outlandish weirdness and force your team to wear it. And it was just bizarre, like I remember one year for the NCAA tournament, they put UCLA in like Zuba's pajamas. And, UCLA is one of the most traditional basketball programs there is. It was a horrible look for them. The fans hated it. They've done it many times with football uniforms, but what I heard about Tennessee is they're going to have creative control, their in-house people over what they do with the uniform. So I think Adidas has been effectively reined in.
Mark Schipper, Fifth Down College Football, with us on 365 Sports.
Mark, what did I tweet? I've forgotten. This is part of being 45 now.
Oh.
I tweeted at you earlier in the year that you and I should write a movie about something. A college football thing.
It obviously went over well. Oh,
No,
yeah.
I'm trying to recall what it was. It was something I posted, and you said this needs to be a movie.
Yeah.
And you weren't wrong, but I can't recall off the top of my head what that
All
was.
right. Well, I just want to say that when we figure it out, let's do it.
Yeah. Hey, I like that. That's general and specific all at once. Let's plan on that.
Exactly.
Mark, thank you very much. I know you're busy. Good luck with the book. When that thing is close, you better send us a copy. We'll put it on our set. We'll have it facing the camera. People can look at it, and we'll also give them the information of how they can find it.
Oh, you guys know I'm going to do that. It's always a pleasure to come out with you guys, so I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Mark Schipper, fifth down college football, sense of humor, but also legitimately analyzing the game